12.7. In this lecture video, I'm going to talk to you about something called the perfect square binomial. This is just another spatial product. So the reason why we call them spatial product because these type of multiplication, the answer will always look in a certain way. So let's take a look at this one. I got two different versions of perfect square binomial or trinomial. Basically, it says if I have a plus b whole thing squared, okay? Remember, in the previous module before, I think when I was introducing power rule, I said that this answer will never ever be a squared plus b squared. It will never be that answer. And the reason why is now in the parenthesis, I got two terms, okay? If I got two terms, I cannot apply the power rule. So how do we look at these? Well, the exponent is square, so that means my base was inside the parenthesis, okay, will time itself two times. And the reason why I keep them in the parentheses because I got two terms, okay? That's why I gotta put them together, view them as one thing. So my base, a plus b, times itself two different times. So this same problem can be rewritten as a plus b times a plus b. All right. So if I do a FOIL method, okay, if I do a FOIL method, the first thing I do is a times a, which will give me a squared. All right. My outer is a times b, which is positive ab. My inner is b times a, which is another positive ab. And then the last thing I do is b times b, which is positive b squared. So basically what you're looking at here is I have two exactly the same middle term. Because this is a spatial product because my first term in the two parentheses are the same. My second term in the two parentheses are the same. And this time the two signs are exactly the same. So when that's the case, the inner and the outer are two exact same term. That's the reason why when I combine them, we end up with this thing called a 2ab. So this number 2ab here is referring to my inner and outer are exactly the same. I got two of those, exactly the same term. So that's the reason why problem like this, the answer will always be your a whole thing squared plus take a number 2 because I got two of the same term times your a times your b plus the b, your b whole thing squared. It will always look like this. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, I'm gonna just help you kind of memorize what the formula says. Okay, we do need to memorize some of these formula for the spatial product because that will allow us to recognize them whenever we see them. All right, so if I just put it up here, okay, a plus b whole thing squared. So my a is x, my b is 7. So my answer will always be take my a, which is x whole thing squared, that would just be x squared, plus take a number 2 times my a times my b. So 2 times my a is 2x, right? 2 times x is 2x, times 7 will give me positive 14x. 2 times my a times my b. 2 times x times 7 is positive 14x. Plus, the sign will always be the way they are. My b is 7 plus my b is 7 whole thing squared. 7 squared will be 49. Okay, that's it. That's my answer. So by memorizing the formula, you can look at this and write down the answer without doing x plus 7 times x plus 7 and then do a FOIL method and then combine like term. You know, it does save a little bit of time. Okay, as we move forward into other module, this coming handy. All right, try another one. Okay, this is another plus version. So a plus b. Here I got a plus b whole thing squared. So my a is 3x. So when my a entire 3x whole thing squared that will give me 9x squared plus the 2ab. Remember now, the 2ab represents I got two of the same middle terms. Well, I got two of the same inner and outer. So we just take a number 2 times my a times my b. 2 times 3x is 6x times my b, 8. 6x times 8, 48x. Plus my b, which is 8, whole thing squared, which would be 64. And that would be my answer. All right. Let's try this one, okay? We haven't talked much about using two variables, okay? So I'm going to use this opportunity to introduce multiplication with two different variables. Remember now, the answer need to be, so normally when we write our answer for polynomial, we go by exponents, we go by the alphabetical order and also go by exponents. So normally x come before y, so if that's the case, a come before y, that means the x squared term got to be up front. The y squared term got to be on the back. All right. So let's see if I can bring this down real quick. So let's take a look. All right, my a is 7x. So when it says a squared, my answer should be a squared. That means my entire 7x whole thing squared. That will give me 49x squared. Right? Minus, take a number 2 times my a times my b. 2 times my a times my b. So you can put that in the calculator. 2 times 7 times 2. Or you can say 2 times 7x times 2y, which is going to be 4 times 7, which is 28xy. 28xy. Right? 2 times 7x is 14x. 14x times 2y will be 28xy. Plus my b, which is 2y, right? Got to be squared. So that will be 4y squared. And that's the answer. All right. So I would love for you to take a look at this answer real quick. We mentioned the wording, something called a true trinomial. This answer is actually a trinomial answer. If we go by alphabetical order and go by exponents, okay, the answer has to be written this way because alphabetical order, that means x squared the term with x goes in the front. So if you look on the exponents, this is 2 power on the x, 1 power, and then this last term actually is x to the 0 power. So this is 2, 1, 0. All right, 2, 1, 0 for the exponent of x. But for the variable y, okay, the first term, you don't see a y because it's actually y to the 0 power. So for the y is 0 power, 1, and then 2. So for the x, the exponent go descending order, 2, 1, 0. 2, 1, 0 on the x. For the y is 0, 1, 2. All right. That's the reason why the answer got to be the way it is. It got to be written in order. So my x is going descending order. My variable y is going ascending order. Okay. So whenever we use two different variables, this is the reason why the answer looked the way it is. Okay. If I will put, and sometimes I don't explain this well enough to students, if I will say this is 49x squared plus 4y squared minus 28xy. Look at the exponent for x. It's 2. Then this term, 4y squared, actually has x to the 0 power. So that will be 2, 0, 1. 2, 0, 1. The variable for y, the first term doesn't have any y, so it's because it's y to the 0 power. So there will be 0 for the 0 exponent for the y on the first term, and the next term is 2. The last term is 1. So all the exponent is actually out of order when we move the 4y squared behind the x squared. That's why the answer is wrong. So we want the exponent in descending order and ascending order when I'm using two variables. Descending order on the x, ascending order on the y. That's the why if you look at the formula, a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, a go before b. That's why the b squared term is on the very back. Okay. All right. Let me erase this real quick. Now this example right here, if you actually think about what this problem is saying, the square is on top of on the outside of the parentheses, so that means my base 5x plus 2 actually times itself 2 times. And I have another 2 up front. So I mentioned before, whenever we need to multiply 3 things, we can only do 2 at a time. So basically, I'm going to multiply 5x plus 2 times 5x plus 2 first. So what that means is I'm going to do 5x plus 2 whole thing squared first, which will actually give me, well, let me copy this again. So if I have my formula right here and match it to my A and B, who's my A and B? My A is 5x, my B is 2. So when the formula calls for a squared, that means I take my A, which is 5x, whole thing squared. So 5 squared is 25. X squared is x squared. Purposely leave a little space right there. All right. Formula says plus 2ab. So I say plus a 2 plus a 2 times my A times my B. 2 times 5x times 2. 2 times 5 is 10. All right, 10x times 2. 10 times 2 is 20. So that will be 20x. Okay, so the 20x come from the 2 times my A times my B. Plus my B, which is 2, whole thing squared, which is 4. The reason why I leave a little space right here is because I actually have another factor up front that I need to multiply. So that 2 will actually multiply all 3 terms right here. Okay. So now let the 2 do a distribution on the 3 terms. So 2 times 25x squared will be 50x squared. 2 times positive 20x is positive 40x. 2 times positive 4, positive 8. So that's my answer. All right, we can do it this way, or we can write them all out. Do the FOIL method first, then times 2. We can take 2 times 5x plus 2 first. Whatever that answer is, times by 5x plus 2. Whatever you do, do not multiply the 2 times the 5x times the 5x simultaneously. That will actually throw everything off. Okay, that will actually be wrong. When we multiply, we can only multiply 2 things at a time. All right. So in this lecture video, we quickly talk about perfect square binomial or trinomial, 2 different versions. I highly suggest you to memorize what the formula says. Okay, so that you can just look at it and write down the final answer. Other than the perfect square binomial, in the previous video, we also have difference of square. Okay, these 2 rules come in handy as we're moving forward into the next module, along with the FOIL method. Remember now, FOIL method are designed for us to do it just simply by looking at them. Okay, first thing is A times A, last thing is B times B, and then we do the inner and outer. Okay, we do it just by doing it in our head and write down the answer. Okay, alrighty, that will conclude this lecture video on the special product. We will actually run into the special product once again in module 13. So that's the reason why if you don't mind, begin to memorize a formula that will come in very handy. Thank you for watching.